Members of the Bishop's alumni who would introduce themselves.
Good evening, viewers. I am Asante Brathwaite, former secretary of the Bishopians Alumni Association.
Good evening, everyone. I am Brittany Romeo, president of Bishopians Alumni Association.
And I am Jason Arthur, treasurer of the Bishopians Alumni Association. Good evening.
How did this event start?
Well, this event started from an online banter between Kevon McKenna and Devon Mormigans McDonald. So basically, they had a discussion, and then it was highlighted that this was happening.
I actually think that it might make sense to actually show how the thing started by playing a clip from Mr. McKenna himself.
When I call Devon provoked me some night on Facebook to tell me that, what was the statement, sorry?
I said, Mr. McKenna, I see your alumni association doing wonderful things. I applaud you. But know that Bishopians are here, and we've been here for approximately 90 years. And we see you, and we will be hot on your heels in terms of, advertising and bravado and so forth.
So how did that bring us to the games?
Well, after she said that, I then called my executive because I don't work without them. I said, could I issue the challenge? They said, go ahead. And then I issued the challenge. Scarborough Alumni Association, which is a challenge, the Bishopian Alumni Association. If your name man, come outside and beat you in a game of football, we are waiting. Tag your friends.
I stepped away from my computer for all of maybe 30 minutes and came back, and my timeline was flooded with this.
How everybody was
people
like,
were like, when? Tell us when. We didn't even have a date. We had never spoken about this, nothing. So I had to go back to my alumni association now and start to make several calls. And I spoke to Kevon so that we could start deciding what date and so forth. And we made it happen all in one meeting. Which is another thing that we did well. We had one meeting of all the stakeholders, and that was it.
So tell me, what were the expenses for this event?
The event was really an easy event, an inexpensive event rather to host. Both alumni made contributions, and in our case, there were significant contributions by fellow Bishopians. One example of this was the song system that we used for the event that year in 2016.
Yeah, and from what I was told, it might not have even cost $1,000. Actually, we have a clip here from Mr. McKenna, and I think it'll be good to kind of hear him tell it.
Now, what role did sponsorship play in what you all did? Was there a need for that?
We spent $400.
You spent $400, but does that mean you weren't supported in other ways by THA, by businessmen? I don't know, I'm asking.
Well, we tried to keep it as non-political as possible. Most of our $400 went towards ad-libs on Pulse 98.5, I believe. No, sorry, 98.9.
89.5.
89.5, my apologies. 89.5, Pulse City. So we did a lot through that in terms of ad-libs and then appearing on several shows. We also did some, we also got our trophy sponsored by Mr. George Leacock himself, alumni of the Bishop's High School, and which was, he himself would say, one of the best things he ever did was to sponsor, the trophy. So he really came through with that. We really appreciated that. But other than that, the real excitement was playing with the memes and that school association and affiliation.
So how did the event turn out?
I mean, you were there, you said it for yourself. Capture the Flag 2016 was a resounding success. Thousands attended. There were students from other schools that were not even participants there enjoying themselves. I saw many past principals and students alike, and if you even look at the post-event commentary, you would see that it was thoroughly enjoyed by all and persons were satisfied.
So, Mr. Atta, what was your role?
Well, I guess we could say I was one of the most enthusiastic, or the most enthusiastic alumni there on either side of the aisle. I spent $2,000 on a $20 event, and I brought 2 big pot of pilau, you know, fed everybody, paid for a rhythm section, you know, and had a sort of a little mini bar. So it was really, really good, really good.
So how did we get to this point? From this high of capturing the flag to press releases and social media feud, how did we get there?
We met early in 2017 to talk about the event, and at that
Talk about
meeting,
the next event?
Yes, the next event. And at that meeting, it was revealed to us that both Roxborough Secondary alumni and Signal Hill alumni would be included. This bit of news was a surprise to us because we had all agreed at the joint post-evaluation meeting to hold off bringing in any other school until the 3rd year. Because we needed to better understand the event and to perfect it. In fact, even Mr. McKenna had agreed that we would do so.
Are we gonna extend the competition? Other schools in Tobago, schools in Trinidad, schools abroad. What is the plan? Let us in from now.
I would receive a call
slowly.
basically saying to all secondary schools, you know, get ready. However, the get ready doesn't mean get ready and jump into the capture the flag. It means when you get ready, you form your alumni and you start to get your work, start to work for your school, and then somewhere down the line, we will meet. But you know, as is for now, we have a rematch to deal with next year, and the rematch we'll do with Scarborough Sec, of course, beating Bishops again.
Let's surely want to do that a second time and expose yourself to that.
That's okay, that's okay. Right. So next year there will be a rematch, of course. We will announce the date soon, so it will give persons who are outside the time to get
to make preparation to come in.
And also to help Bishops with their team, you know, they need to get the Nicho and the Kareem.
All I would say is that in Tobago, I think sometimes we forget that yes, we did something once and it was successful. But once we identify what made that thing up successful, then it allows itself, it lends itself to a repeat. And that's really what we are trying to achieve. We're trying to understand why was this event so successful? What was it about it that made it successful? And make sure that we are meeting the needs of the people who enjoyed it. We don't want to give them something new and fresh and dynamic on every installment of the event. Yes, that would be great, but we may give them something that they don't even want.
So not only you want to capture the flag, you have to capture the feeling, the winning element of the thing, and make sure that that remains so that you always have that element of success.
And remember, at this point, we still thinking that it's still a partnership. It felt like a slap in the face that such a decision was made without prior consultation. To be honest, it wasn't a big deal because all it amounted to was the future plans for the 3rd year was being brought forward 1 year earlier. However, that was only the first indication that we were being marginalized. What we were told next really stunned us. He said that the 50-50 split no longer applied and that Scarborough Secondary alumni would now be taking 60% of the gate, with the remainder 40% to be shared between Bishopians alumni, Roxborough Sec alumni, and Signal Hill alumni. And on top of that, there would be a $15,000 management fee going to Scarborough Sec alumni. To say we were shocked is an understatement. He didn't even suggest splitting 60-40, 60 for Bishops and Scarborough Sec, 40 for the remainder, or a 4-way split, 25, 25, 25, 25.
So what happened at that meeting thereafter?
Well, there was a subsequent meeting after this one, and it was really at that meeting that it was really presented to us in clear terms that Scarborough Sec and Bishops no longer had a partnership. Right? That was put on the table, and it was obvious that going forward, the Bishopians Alumni Association would be mere invitees to Capture the Flag 2017.
So how was the other side able to unilaterally change the rules or the dynamics? Was there a contract?
There wasn't a contractual agreement.
Why?
It's funny that you should ask this, because during the actual planning process of Capture the Flag 2016, there were two attorneys involved, in the person of Mrs. Devon Miggins McDonald and myself. And interestingly enough, it never crossed our minds to even suggest drafting an agreement or contract or whatever. We were very comfortable with the position that we were in and the relationship, in fact, with Scarborough Sec. And in hindsight, I would say that we were a bit too comfortable.
Yeah.
But when you're having fun and you're excited about hosting an event,
Sure.
And it came off well.
So
Look.
if there was no written contract, what proof is there of this alleged partnership?
I mean, in absence of a written agreement, there are other actions or conduct, if I could call it that, from both associations that would speak to itself or were in line with the essence of a partnership. If we look at the first press release that was issued from pertaining to the event, it came from both associations. The logos of both our associations were on that press release. The marketing and promotion of the event was done jointly. Everybody could recall hearing Devon and Kevon on the radio station going on and on about this joint effort. Even if you don't want to consider that, the mere proceeds of the event was split equally. Let me ask you a question. Would you give someone an equal share of your pie if you did not treat them as an equal partner?
No.
I actually wanted to jump in here and say I think now is a good time yet again, and I'm going to keep saying that all night, to hear from Mr. McKenna.
You need people who are action oriented. I think that is what I think I would credit or praise the team for. Both teams that came together, they were action oriented people. So we sit down in the meeting and we said this. And we didn't have to meet again because Devon would call, this is done. Latoya would call, this is done. Bree would message in, this is done. Kashika would message in, this is done. And everything
So it's a kind of
flowed.
revolution.
We didn't even
how
spend,
you-
our budget was actually $400 on marketing.
Exactly.
My God, this turns everything we learn upside down.
We
you know.
spent
We didn't
$400,
do it.
and I think it's because, you see, we built from the ground up.
We just looked at that clip, and you'll notice he kept talking about team and team and team.
Definitely.
And so, you know, the question as to whether this was a partnership or not, when you look at the actions and how things were done by both parties, and you listen to the clip, everything absent of a contract tells you that this was a partnership.
Correct.
I don't think a judge, if presented with all of this, could conclude otherwise. I really don't think so.
But clearly, after all of that, you still participated in the second year.
Yes, we did.
Why?
Well, because we knew that alumni wanted to attend and wanted to take part of that experience. So what the then alumni board did was that we delegated a team from the wider audience to actually organize and represent the alumni board.
So what actually happened to make you finally pull out this
Well,
year?
That same 2017 organizing team for Bishopians alumni came back to us with questions and concerns and complaints.
I think from what we were told,
Yeah.
so so let's go back. In 2016, which was the first year, there was a 50-50 arrangement between Scarborough Sec and Bishop's High School. Then in 2017, it was 60-40 with 60 for Scarborough Sec and 40% divided among Bishops, Roxborough, and Signal Hill.
Yeah.
Then the team that dealt with that change or those new terms, when they go back to the third year, which is this year, they were told, okay, so before it was 60-40, which was gate receipts, by the way, well, here's what's going to happen this year. No gate receipts for you all. All right? And you all would have the opportunity to probably win like prizes, you know, if you win the game, right? The football game I'm talking about. And so, you know, after a while it was like, well, I mean, what's really going on here? If you just keep shifting, you know, the rules just keep shifting. But not only that, one of the other problems they had was that the rules didn't just shift on the financial side. The rules shift even with respect to football.
Yes.
So, for instance, this year, Scarborough Sec has a bye into the next round. And typically in sports, the champion has a bye into the next round. But Scarborough Sec this year has a bye, and they are the runners-up from last year. And so people thought that was pretty unfair because everything seemed to have been organized to favor them. The other part of that is it also increased the likelihood, because of course there's at least one match they don't have to play in which they could lose. So it increases the likelihood that they could actually win the tournament. And now remember, you took away all the gate receipts. It's possible you could win. So now you seem to, you know, and you just keep inching closer and closer to getting everything.
Yes.
So there are financial change and rule change that Bishopians are not happy about.
I would say Bishopians, I would not say primarily, but because from what I was told, with respect to the football rule changes, I believe Signal Hill actually had some issues there as well. One of the things that a lot of people have said is that a lot of other schools didn't actually have any issues. But the comparison doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because if I was never in the tournament and I come in and I meet these rules, I am probably okay with these rules because that's what I met. Okay? Versus somebody who was living under other rules, and then you suggest new rules. So for instance, from what we know, Signal Hill had a problem with the changing of the rules. But guess what? Signal Hill was in the tournament last year. So you see that there's a sort of a pattern. The people who were there before, some of them are having problems with the changes. But those who just come, you know, they're not going to have the same problems. And what has been happening is that it's been working out to Scarborough Sec's advantage, because those persons end up outnumbering the newer ones. And so when you vote, you get this majority vote, and it looks as though the ones who are complaining are simply just complaining and they're unreasonable just because of the vote. But the real issue is they are new, but they are more.
Based on what you just said, are there any opportunities left for participating schools to make money for their alumni?
I'm not sure about that. As far as I know, there is a participate FIFA participating.
I think so.
I think so. And then of course
Probably
there are the cash prizes for the winner, and maybe I'm not clear on the details. I think some of the people who are playing for Bishops, they would probably be a little bit more clear, you know, on that.
Clearly, it seems as though Bishopians are really not happy about certain terms and conditions. So just tell me when was that moment that caused you all to pull out?
Well, I will jump in there. So like we said a while ago, there was a team that was sent out in 2017, a brand new team to deal with the capture the flag and negotiating on the Scarborough Sec side. And the reason that was done was that the old team just couldn't mesh anymore after they were hurt through, you know, the
New
new
terms.
arrangements or whatever the case may be. So you send this new team. This new team rode it out and competed in the 2017 edition. When that new team went into the 2018 edition, they started having similar problems as the old team with respect to the shifts and so forth or whatever the case may be. And when they got fed up, they came back to the board. And this is one thing I want to clarify, because I think a lot of people think that the board, the Bishopians board,
Is the
made
ones
this
who decided
decision to
this.
pull out from Capture the Flag. And
Oh,
what
it
it was is
Yeah.
the wider alumni who went out there to represent the board. People like Christoph Alfred and I think Mauricia Nicholson
Yeah.
and of course some of the
Kelvon.
names.
Kelvin Morris, Troy Andrews.
Troy Andrews. A number of these people went out
Yeah.
and they came back when we had a special meeting,
Yeah.
and all of them complained bitterly
About the
how things
situation
were
now.
going. And then we asked them, well, okay, you all are the wider alumni. Tell us what you all want, because we are the brand new board, and we think that at the end of the day, we need to represent you all.
Yeah.
What do you all want to do? And they all said to us, we would like to pull out of Capture the Flag. It is unfair, it's been unfair, and it seems as though it's going to continue to be
being
unfair. And that is when we made the decision, okay, we will pull out of Capture the Flag. That is how it came. We didn't just make the decision like that.
Okay, after all is said and done, what would be the ideal situation for bishops, Bishopians? What would you like to see?
If we can return to the 2016 spirit and camaraderie of this amazing event, sure.
But well, that sounds so general. I'm not really sure what that actually means. But I do understand what Brittany is saying, and I'm not really sure how we're gonna necessarily get back
to
there.
that.
What I do know is that one of the things that doesn't foster that is this idea that every time somebody turns around, the rules have changed yet again.
Alright.
I am pretty certain all of us can remember as children at some point in time, because everybody has experienced it, playing with somebody who changes the rules literally in the middle of the game. I mean, I remember as a child playing basketball, this line is out, and then I find out, no, it's not this line, it is this
the next line.
So, so Mr. Atta, in essence, you're saying there is no fair play. You're not seeing fair play with respect
of course
to
not.
the event.
Of course not. There is no fair play, and there's no way that an event that boasts this kind of camaraderie and so forth could continue in this vein and actually live up to what it is they're saying it is. Now, mind you, let's be real. The people who come to the event, they don't actually know what's going on. They have a fantastic time. But here's what I would say. In the first year of the event, everybody had a good time.
I had
The
fun.
people who put on the event and the people who came to the event.
Yeah.
And what is happening now is that the way that things are being run, the people involved on the other side, behind the scenes, I mean, we're not really putting on the event, right? But we're involved in organizing at least your
At least
teams
our
and
side.
so forth, or whatever the case may be. Those people are no longer having fun. And that doesn't have to be, and we know it doesn't have to be, because it wasn't that way. We have a precedent. It wasn't that way before. And so I don't necessarily know how it would manifest. I mean, if you ask me, well, exactly, give me the terms, give me what would be happening differently, I couldn't itemize it, but I could tell you it wouldn't be this constant shift over and over and over.
So let me ask all of you, should the Scarborough Secondary alumni invite you back to the negotiating table, would you all be interested in the tournament again?
I mean, I'm not in a position to really negotiate anymore because I'm no longer on the board, but I would say definitely. I mean, the event that I experienced, the relationship, the bond, it was truly something unique. It was exciting, and I really would like to see it return
Yeah,
to the
to
marriage
that.
that it was. Even if not a 50-50 marriage.
Yeah.
I would really like to see a resurfacing of that, the essence of Capture the Flag 2016.
Because let us make it clear here. We love Capture the Flag. There's no question about that.
Correct.
So it's for us to reconnect to that spirit and that whole friendliness and actually being together and that unity, and then we can see about it.
Yeah, I could certainly say. I mean, obviously I was the crazy fan of Capture the Flag the first year, and I didn't go the second year, right? I didn't go the second year because of the things I was hearing, and typically I'm not somebody who is willing to support anything that I believe is not living up to certain ethical standards. So I left, or rather I didn't go. But I would not like to go again. I would like to want to go again. That is what I would like. Because I have to want to go before I go. And I would like to want to go again. And I'm not sure what necessarily has to happen, but as far as the negotiating table is concerned, I don't think bishops should ever say, never, we're never going to go back in there, or whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
I think the pulling out was more of a principle
Correct.
stand. We wanted to say, listen, this could never be fair. Could never be. And let me say this, we're not even talking so much anymore, I think, about what happened to bishops in the beginning, right? Where they were 50-50 and then it just changed
Spin
overnight
all
for
over the
no
place.
reason or whatever the case may be. I don't even think bishops necessarily even wants to go back there. But here's the thing. Come to an agreement on what the rules are and stick to the rules. Now, I'm going to say this. Obviously, in an event that is growing and probably bringing in other
More people
aspects and
and
whatever the
more
case may be,
resources.
you may have to change some rules as you go along. But here's the thing about changing rules. You can change a rule from one thing to the next, and people are okay with the rule. Why? The rule seems to be consistent with the spirit of some principle, some principle that allow people to accept the rules the first time. And so changing a rule is not the problem. The problem is when you change a rule and it seems to be violating an agreed upon principle. And that is what is happening. Because I don't want Scarborough Sec to say, but we have to change some of the rules for this, that. That's not the issue. That's not the issue. People are not stupid. Sometimes you have to change rules, but you need to stick with principle. That is what you need to stick with. And I think that's the problem right now. We're not seeing principle. We're not seeing principle at all. And I think one of the things that we need to say as well, this is not between bishops. And we don't consider this to be between bishops and Scarborough Secondary School. To a large degree, we don't even consider this to be between bishops and the Scarborough Sec alumni. Right now, there is a small team of people negotiating for Scarborough Sec alumni who we think the way that they do things doesn't fit well. Obviously, one of the things that we sort of discovered this evening is that a number of things that were said were untrue, as the videos showed. And I'm just sort of wondering how that is going to play on the other side. But for our alumni, I hope that after they look at this,
They would understand.
they would understand why we took the stance we did. They would understand we didn't take it by ourselves. And the other thing I would love is for our alumni to trust us. I think we were very disappointed this week when we saw some of the comments from our own alumni. It seems as though they believed what
That-
was put out there.
Exactly.
You know, as though we would do the kinds of things that were said in that press release. That is not the kind of alumni board you have. That is absolutely not the kind of alumni board you have. What I can say to you all is this, and when I say you all, I mean, you know, the alumni.
Everyone, yeah. Oh, the alumni.
We are going to have a general meeting after this. I am hoping that as many people as I saw
Attend.
talking about
Yes.
not consulting them and so
Yes,
forth,
and
I'm
that
hoping
they
that they
have a-
turn up, right? But we actually want to hear from you. Like I said before, this only happened because we were actually listening to you. Now, some of you all may consider it only a small subsection of you, right? Well, it could get bigger if more people would show up, right? So,
Well, Jason, Brittany, Asante, it was nice having this discourse with you. It shed some light for me, and I guess for the wider audience who would view it. And if there is no further input or comment,
no, we're good.
I just want to say, capture the flag.